Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to RaceFace round number 7 of the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box is the one, the only, Janneman Price. Janneman, how are you doing this evening? Or might I say, konnichiwa?
No, Stephen, you speak foreign. Good evening, Stephen. Good evening, everybody. Yes, live from Suzuka. Suzuka, kind of an interesting track as it's one of the very few figure 8 courses around there. It crosses over each other, gets all tangled up. Stephen, I'm keeping an eye here on the server, and I'm just going to say things are looking a bit wet out there tonight.
Yeah, it looks a little bit dicey, but while we're talking about Suzuka and we're talking about the drivers having to handle it, let's actually take a look at a track preview. And Janneman, you walk us through, since you've done a couple of laps around this magnificent, legendary circuit.
Yeah, Suzuka is one of those interesting tracks, Stephen. I find it always tightening up on yourself, as you'll see on this lap around you. We go down the pit straight, turn 1, you got a fast entry, but then it tightens up on you. You go down through that gears, ending up in second gear as you take this second corner almost. Now it's time for the S's, another section where you keep on slowing down. You need to get that rhythm and the flow right. Each corner is tighter than the previous one. You see the car slowing down. Bit of counter steer there as the rear end steps out. Now we go through the right-hander, this never-ending right-hander. Now it's the Dunlop curve. Try and get the power down as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of time through this section. Trying to keep the car stable there. Spot your braking point. First of the Degner curves. Hit the curb. Don't run too wide onto the gravel. Now it tightens up into second gear. And now onto the hairpins. It's a blind approach. The corner kind of jumps at you on the brakes, and now get the car turned in without too much understeer. Very easy to run wide here. Get the power on as early as possible, as the next section is flat out. A little bit of tail stepping out there. I think that's something we're going to see a lot of tonight, especially with the track being wet. Now the spoon curves. The first one onto second gear. Don't let the car run wide. Now it tightens up on you. Get that front end swung in, power down early without running too wide or letting the back step out. Now we're onto the back section. And what's next? 130R. I think this is one of the sections we might see some overtaking tonight, as it's flat out through this section. And now the 130R, just a slight tab on the brakes, down to fourth gear. It is wet, not as quick as in the dry. And now only the hairpin lies ahead. Get your braking point spot on to get the front end in first corner, second corner of the chicane. Get the power down. Also very easy to lose the rear end through this section as the track tends to fall away from you. And we are back on the pit straight, and that is a lap of Suzuka. Almost said Spa there for a second.
Oh, Suzuka being one of those legendary staple circuits that we've seen in sim racing, and honestly, it's a joy to come around every single time to Suzuka. Provides lots and lots of action, lots of passing opportunity, and also test the driver, whether it's in the wet or whether it's in the dry. It's definitely a circuit to keep an eye out for. But taking a look at our drivers, they're going to have to contend with this amazing circuit. I think we're in for a solid bit of fun. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to be able to get everyone right to the top, because on a wet circuit, slipping and sliding, trying to get the car to just grip underneath you and at least do something you want it to do is never going to be an easy factor at all. It's going to be one that you have to keep a very, very close eye on your competition, just so you don't have anyone sliding into you and ending your race rather shortly. So this is something, well, it's a circuit that's synonymous at causing a huge amount of drama. If we even take a look back to, well, shall I say, Ayrton Senna and Prost when it came down to the championship decider.
Are we going to have a championship decider tonight?
Well, this is where you got the points, so let us know who's sitting in which position and where we're currently standing at round 7 of the RaceFace Sprint Series Championship.
That's correct. Round 7. So 2 rounds to go, including tonight. Out in the lead, we've got Ryan Ottens on 266 points, followed by Mac van der Merwe on 187. Now here things gets interesting. Sanjan Pillay in 3rd place on 175. He's not far behind Bego Grobler. 4th place we got on 145, and now things get even closer because we've got Bernard Barkhuizen and Brandon Kruger on 131 points each, and Justin Lotus in 7th place on 130 points. So even though Ryan Ottens is, I won't say comfortably in the lead, but he has got some sort of lead out in front. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7 by no means decided yet.
Well, Ryan Ottens at the moment having some fun in the rain, doing 207s, and honestly, my best times is in the 220s and 215s. So looking at this really shows what the professionals can do, and adding a bit of rain to the chaos really does switch things up. Nicholas Manuel in 2nd place, followed by Essie Esterhuis in the little Honda, going and representing Japan at this point. Kirian Reina down in 4th place, followed by Mahayath Musa. Then we have got Mac van der Merwe in 6th place. Daniel de Villiers, actually Sanjan Pillay jumping into 7th place. Daniel de Villiers dropping down to 8th. Justin Lotus in 9th place, followed by Bego Grobler, Eric Kirstein, Grant Sebastian, Tinian Kube, Hansi Myberg, Darren Miller, William Wentworth, Richard van Heerden, Peter Meyer, Morgan McCall, and Dean Kabasa rounding out the 20-car field. We do have a couple of retirees for tonight due to load shedding. A couple of drivers unable to make it, but we'll be watching in the chat very, very closely. A couple of guys also just jumping in and saying how's it to everyone, as we see Hansi Myberg well before, and this was a stream put up at 1 o'clock. Going and sending good luck to all races. So at 1 o'clock he was already tuned in, even though he's going to be out on circuit. Then we got Robert Went. Well, yeah, I think he's a bit excited. Then we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the fastest typer in the world, Robert Wentworth, who's also saying, how's it, guys? So a couple of returning to go and have a bit of fun here at Suzuka, and with it all coming towards the end of the championship, excitement building up. I gotta say, we're in for a very, very exciting race and a final conclusion to everything coming next weekend for our RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series.
Now, can I just throw something out there?
You can throw lots of things out there. I've seen you throw many things out there. Haven't seen you throw your vape
out of the car.
I haven't seen you throwing your vape yet, but I think that's rather expensive to throw.
So, since we have a couple of people watching, we're just gonna say we're running a little bit of a test tonight, and for all the people on YouTube watching, let us know if you can spot what we're doing differently tonight. Just gonna leave it right there.
Setting up. Just setting things up. Tying everything around the world. Well, as you see, Nicholas Manuel up into 3rd place. Good to see the BMW getting a little bit of drive. A couple of people saying the BM's actually suffering from a severe amount of understeer in the rain. But it does look like Nicholas Manuel's putting that to bed. Essie actually having a great bit of fun in the ZRC Honda, as Tim the cameraman just trying to get himself resorted. But good to see the Hondas.
He's in the rain. Give the guy a break.
Well, I mean, we've seen what the little Hondas can do with the likes of Cody Sherritt, who did the lap for us, and what he could do with this little Honda and how it can perform. It's all up to setup work, and the guys have really been putting in that extra little bit of effort to claw their way to the top. So good to see Ryan Ottens, though, doing the best time so far. No one's able to catch him. He did a 206.7 as his fastest lap time. So it's, well, I think we're in for a really, really exciting run. And where guys are going to end up, well, nobody knows.
Yeah, Suzuka is one of those tracks, Stephen, where you can overtake. There are a couple of places where you can overtake. One of the main ones being, just after the 130R with the chicane, passing on the inside. We've even seen guys going around the outside there. And then also turn one, bit of a risky place to try and make a passing maneuver as the corner tightens up on you, but we've seen that as well. So it's a lot longer track than what we've raced on previously, and you can see it in the lap times. I mean, we're 2 minute plus. Last week we were in the 1 minute 20s, so it's a lot longer lap. It's a place also, because it's a sprint race, we all know you don't want to get pit stops, but drive-throughs, especially in the rain, might be a possibility tonight. Guys exceeding the track limits just once too often and getting punished for that. So I think it's going to get interesting. Let's see what happens in the rain tonight.
Well, Robert McCall going and saying we had load shedding until it went down to stage 3, and that's why we could see this man go and join back in. That's Morgan McCall. Been MIA during the entire season, but has been rolling back in, having a bit of fun. Good to see him back out there.
Yeah, it's nice to see or to hear something going in Morgan's favor. I mean, he's had a bit of bad luck during the last couple of weeks, so nice to see him out there. Nice to hear that load shedding is in his favor, and hopefully he can make some impact tonight.
It's going to be a very, very interesting run to see how it all works out. Where's everyone going to end up? And one thing I'm not seeing here is his teammates. The likes of Christian Leploy is not here this evening, so Morgan McCall being the sole ATK driver at the moment. But climbing the ladder and still in first place is Ryan Ottens. Bego Grobler going and taking second place at the moment, followed by Essie Essehays, Nicholas Manuel, Justin Lotus, Mac van der Merwe, Gideon Reyna, Mahath Musa going and actually moving down to 9th. So we had Morgan McCall just go around and slap himself into second place with a 206.8. Ryan Ottens doing a 206.7 as his quickest time. So that's actually just going and asserting one's dominance. And I was about to ask a very real question of what's going to be better on this tricky circuit. Is it going to be the mid-engine, the short stubby Porsche that's going to be able to pull their way through, the longer front-engine, mid-engine type hybrid of, well, it is a front engine, but the engine's behind the front axle, so it's closer to mid-engine than front engine, but that would be
the engine's in front of the driver, so it's a front engine
It's
car.
a front engine rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
The Mercedes, do you think that the Audi might have a advantage, or do you think things like the Honda and the BMW might be the surprising plot twist in this 45-minute race?
Well, you know what Miles is going to be, don't you? It's going to be a front engine car. I took the Lamborghini around here on Monday night for a 90-minute race. Did not end well for me. Took the BMW out last night on the practice server, and even in the wet, my BMW had surprising amount of grip in it. So if you ask me, I'm going to go for the front engine cars and thinking they might just have the upper hand tonight. Might be wrong on this one, but I think that some of the mid-engine cars might struggle a little bit, especially with rear-end grip. So let's see.
Well,
Most probably going to be wrong, but let's see.
At the moment, Ryan Ottens looking to try and finish up his lap. Morgan McCall has taken second at the moment, followed by Bego Grobler in third. But it does look like Ryan Ottens is 0.2 up on his quickest time. Mac van der Merwe is 0.1 up on his quickest time heading into the 130R. Let's see if he can keep it all together. This was a very, very tricky corner that you can just run out a little bit wide and really just bottle the entire lap if you get it wrong. Seems all okay. Making his way around. He's still 0.1 up. Is this going to be enough to move him out of 7th place? Gets onto the power and coming towards the line. Don't think it's going to be enough. Actually proves me wrong. Goes up into 5th place. So Ryan Ottens now making his way through. Morgan McCall in second. Bego in third. Essie is down 0.3. So he's just circulating at the moment. Don't think he's going to get better. Mac van der Merwe, Nicholas Manuel, Justin Lotus, Mahath Musa actually 0.1 up as he heads into 130R. Just remember to dab the brakes just so slightly, tuck the nose in, get back onto the power, move your way through. Has he taken too much runoff? No, still looks like a valid lap at the moment. Hard onto the brakes, trying to sling it in and get back onto the power, heading to the straight. He is in 8th place, but 0.3 up. This may be enough to go and claw his way through up into 5th place. 5th place. Is it going to be enough? 0.2 jumps himself into 4th place right at the last.
Yeah, I had a look from the heli cam on that one, and must say that BMW looked very stable through that last section. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the race. Remember, it's a 45-minute race, so something like tire wear and those type of factors is something to take into account. And let's see who's going to be the hardest on the tires and can make them last till the end of the race.
Now, it's going to be an incredible one for all these drivers, and definitely going to be a challenge for the drivers to keep it all together. Who's going to be able to get out on top? Well, we're about to find out as we take a look back to the track with all the cars. And there is the shot of our 20-car field. Couple of cars out due to load shedding. But if we take a look from our helicam, what a magnificent sight. A legendary circuit in the rain, tricky conditions, and what an amazing circuit. Even if we go into the cockpit of it, you can see how the rain's starting to pour down quite a bit. And turn 1 looking very, very scary for all these drivers. But you cannot get over the fact that Suzuka and GT3 cars, even Suzuka with prototypes, just looks amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those awesome circuits that, you never get tired of it. It doesn't matter how many laps you do on it. I mean, Stephen, me and you have done, I think, more than one endurance race on here. And it's just spectacular to drive around here.
It's really one of those must drive around circuits, and definitely a circuit that you want to, well, learn how to perfect. So, as we're talking about this, remember they have got 1 full lap to warm up their tires and warm up their brakes. And now with it being wet, being cold, the conditions being extremely tricky, it is going to be all on for the guys to claw their way through. And who's going to be able to get their way to the top? Well, we're about to find out with some spectacular racing, and the championship still wide open, as you went and said. I think we're in for a very, very exciting race for all these drivers. I've got to say, I cannot believe we're at round 7 already. 8 rounds left of the 8-round championship. We're in round 7. Next week is the final round, and this is it. We're about to go time for the second to last time for the first season of the GT3 Sprint Series for 2023.
I mean, absolutely. Ryan Otten's leading them around. I think Ryan, he will want to do well tonight in trying securing his championship. So I think for Ryan, nothing less than a win will make him feel comfortable. Should something happen and he should drop down the field, he's going to make life difficult for himself, because then things are going to get really close going into the last race of the season. As you pointed out, full formation lap tonight, so they've got a full lap to get brakes and tires up to temperature. It's extremely cold out there, Stephen. The track is extremely cold, so it's going to be difficult to get temperatures into those tires, or some sort of temperatures into those tires for that first corner, half a lap to a lap, once, until the tires get up to temperature. So at least tonight, they've got a full lap to try and do that.
It's going to be some excellent racing. I think we're in for some great time. And seeing what guys are going to be able to do when everyone jumps back onto the throttle. And during this formation lap, you've got to ensure those tires don't get cold, because sooner, let's be honest, you sit inside of the cars, you're going to get low pressure warnings. You're also going to get temperature warnings saying, listen, the temperatures in the boots at the moment, you best try to work out some temperature, because turn 1, you're going straight or you're going sideways. And knowing that the fight that all these drivers have, what they have to do, where they have to be heading into turn 1, well, there's no holding back. You cannot hold back. In the case of Ryan Ottens, he must not give up the fight. Morgan McCall, who has been out for quite a bit of the championship, the ATK sim racing team, now the wild card up into second place, ready to put the pressure on. And this is where it's going to get very interesting. We've got wild cards in the grid that are going to really turn things on its head. And for championship leaders and even people battling for the championship, they're in for a very, very difficult time. And seeing who will be able to get their way to the top, who's going to maximize the points, well, only time will tell. And once the official results come out, there's no arguing with it. It's done.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you mentioned Ryan Ottens, and I mentioned him before. I mean, you've got a person like Bego Groble starting in 3rd place. Bego is currently sitting 4th in the championship, so he's going to try and make his way out to the front. And Mac van der Merwe, a little bit on the back foot, starting in 6th position. He's Ryan Otten's main championship rival, so he's got some work to do to try and catch up to Ryan and possibly get in front of him.
That's it. Now making their way through 130R, and they're going to be heading into the chicane, and a very famous chicane for going and, well, deciding the championship between the likes of Prost and Senna. And it was very, very controversial when it came down to it. But has also been a chicane that has ended championships in the GT world as well, because guys have outbraked themselves. Now making their way onto the straight, all eyes to the lights, and we've got Jim on the stand. He's going to tell us when to put down the flag. And ladies and gentlemen, for round 7 of the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series, we're about to start and go racing here at Suzuka in Japan.
And now we wait.
Slowly but surely, 70 k's now. Get board stiff. There we go. Cold
We'll
tires.
get there eventually.
Yep. Very, very cold tires. And away there go. And take a look. Ryan Ottens tried going to the middle of the circuit. Just everyone being a little bit ginger as they make their way through. The headlights reflecting off the road, and slight contact between Bego and Mahath Musa. Mahath trying to join back in around Gideon Rayner. Mac van der Merwe bouncing his way up. I got Nicholas Manuel looking up on the inside, makes his way through cleanly past, and Gideon Rayner is now looking to do battle going up on the inside of Essie. Is he going to be able to make it stick now around the outside, getting the power on, going to be on the advantage on the inside line, but narrowly getting by. And it does look like we've got a couple of cars just nose to tail trying to fight their way through as our drivers make their way around. Not too bad of contacts at the moment. Well, saying that, just taking a look, you got Tini Nkube who landed up in a world of hurt. So what on earth happened to Nkube? It's dropped back about 30 seconds. I think he may have landed up with a bit of a fight with a teammate. Everyone just touching the grass, a little bit of a tap, and just the two teammates.
Yeah.
The two teammates, one of the cars getting squirrely, and that pretty much changed the face of his race.
Yeah, I know, it's always bad, when your teammate loses it and you're the one that draws the short straw and get taken out as a result of that. That, Stephen, was never unintentional. That was just an unfortunate accident, and Nkube arrived basically at the scene of the accident. But out in front, Morgan McCall is going to stick it on the inside through 130. A little bit of contact
between Ryan Ottens and himself, but was able to keep it. Bego managing to get by, but Morgan managing to drift it around.
He held that Mercedes very well.
Honestly, that was seriously impressive. I mean, freaking just take a little jump back.
It's been in the background. McLaren going around in the background. He's stuck in the middle of the track.
That's Peter Meyer who's actually gone round. So he's gone and lost the tail, having to wait for the entire field to come by before he gets up and going once again.
That's agony.
It's just one of these moments it's pain. Lots and lots of pain.
Yeah, you're sitting in the middle of the track and there's nothing you can do. You need to wait, as you said, basically for the whole field to get past before you can even make a move. But that move on the inside from Morgan, I still don't know how he held that Merc after that contact to basically only lose one position. He didn't even lose a lot of time through the whole of that incident.
I wonder if the rain actually came in handy because the car's got enough of a slide. You can just counter steer and you don't have to worry about the tires suddenly biting underneath you. Try and get the car pointing straight again, utilizing the power. And, well, honestly, some impressive maneuvering there as we see the likes of Nicholas Manuel doing everything he can to keep Mac van der Merwe behind him. Mac really putting the pressure on. Remember, he's chasing for the championship at the moment. You got the likes of Morgan McCall up on the inside, hard on the brakes, and decides he's going to pull it back and not go diving after the likes of Bego Krobler just yet. Maybe trying to line up to the 130R, but at the moment, Reinhardt is starting to pull away from the rest of the field, hopefully keeping a great charge. Nicholas Manuel has got the fastest lap time, though. Morgan going around the outside, Bego keeping to the middle of the circuit. Gonna try go late on the brakes, makes it stick, bounces the Audi off the curb, loses a bit of drive. That's allowed Morgan to come back at him. Bego doing everything he can, hard on the brakes, over the curbing, side by side with the two. A little bit of rubbing between them. And, well, nicely held. But Nicholas Manuel saying, well, thanks, guys. You killed each other's drive. Now I'm going to try and stick it through. But getting boxed in the process. Bego boxing him in behind Morgan McCall, Nicholas Manuel. And
Bego gone.
Bego, well.
Takeoff. Cleared for takeoff.
Yeah, Bego pulling an ET.
But Nicholas Manuel going sideways through turn one. He's behind Morgan McCall. So, you know, he set his sights on Morgan. And I think Morgan now is going to try and close that gap down to Ryan Ottens again. But very unfortunately, we lost Bego there.
Bego's in fourth, so his ET move eventually got grounded, but yeah, that was rather exciting.
Yeah, I had a quick look. He's still carrying on, as you can see there. So, don't know where he rejoined. Maybe at turn 4, somewhere around there.
When we talk about
can you actually protest or, you know, saying he had an unsafe rejoin?
Well, you fly drones. Do you think he was cleared for takeoff? Was the correct paperwork filed in an area that was, well, definitely we have got spectators. Suzuka is closer to an airport, so yeah, there's a fair amount of paperwork that goes into doing some flashy moves like that.
Yeah, we never saw the landing, so you know, we don't know where he ended up. I don't know if it was a safe landing or not.
There was no pad put out.
No, there was no landing pad for that one. It was just that was just a case of I'm back.
Oh my heavens, sim racing can give us some interesting moments. But take a look, Essie chasing after Bego has got Mac van der Merwe all over the back of him, and Gideon Reyna, who's just keeping a close eye on these two, figuring out when is his correct time to pounce the McLaren, having some unfavorable conditions and unfavorable drives, now looking to get a little bit better. Going a little bit further back, Dean Kabasa going after Darren Miller, the Race for Hope. Darren Miller hoping to just keep up the drive and really focus on his momentum at the moment. Yes, he tried going on the inside of Bego, wasn't able to make it stick, as a couple of the drivers having to battle the way through. Just a big shout out because of the news that has just broken about an hour to 2 hours ago. Sanjan Pillay just enjoying the drive in the Ferrari, but the new GT3 Ferrari is going to be heading into the servers in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and possibly before the new season for the GT3 Sprint Series for 2023. And I've got to say, as a final way to go, Sanjan's got the right color scheme for the Ferrari.
Yeah, a little bit of a send-off. I think Sanjin is really hoping that new Ferrari drops before the start of the new season, but we'll have to see if that's going to be the case. Otherwise, he might put in a request for a car change. Oh, as we see De Villiers be getting squeezed there on the inside, putting a wheel on the grass. He's definitely in a battle with Van Heerde and Tini and Kubi behind them. These three not letting down or backing down. Tini and Kubi is going to have a look on the inside, but that's going to put him on the outside line for the hairpin, not the ideal one. Looking for the cutback underneath Van der Heerde or De Villiers there, but not making it stick.
It's De Villiers doing everything he can. The hitman trying to go and take out. One thing we haven't spoken about, William Wentworth, who has been a little bit lower this season, now in 13th, Mr. Consistency, going and battling it out with our own driver's briefing, Hansi Myberg, who's been sticking in a lot of work behind the scenes and keeping the thing RaceFace moving forward, while the likes of versus Hugo is sorting out life behind the scenes. Dean Cabasa going after Darren Miller, also doing what he can, is really having a great slobberknocker of a fight as well.
Yeah, and you can definitely see the track is wet. You can see the spray coming off the rear tires there. So I think actually, Stephen, the track has got slightly wetter since the start of the race. I might be mistaken, but I don't think you saw that type of spray, especially out of the last chicane during the first couple of laps. This section does look a little bit dry, but look at the spray coming off there from the BMW in front as we watch Miller battling their way around the track into the S's. This is a section of the track where you can lose a lot of time. And Cabasa looking on the inside there of Miller. He definitely wants to get past. I think Cabasa feels like he's getting held up by the Mercedes in front of him, and he wants to try and get past there as soon as possible to maybe set his sights on Justin Lotus in 9th place.
Well, you talk about the spray off the back. Let's use its proper nickname that everyone knows it by, the rooster tail, getting flicked up as our drivers make their way through. I see Robert Wentworth saying, I see the changes for the stream. Yes, I'm wearing pants.
Yeah, Stephen actually he's wearing pants tonight.
Gee, guys. Oh, there we go. Just a bit of fun. And as we take a look at Richard van Heerde, Daniel De Villiers and Tini Nkube slugging it out between the three of them. They're fighting for 14th, 15th, and 16th place. And they're pretty much fighting as hard as Ryan Ottens and Morgan McCall, who are for first and second at the moment, 0.2 of a second, going and slugging it out. Morgan doing everything he can, going after Ryan Ottens, and Ryan going, please, just give me a bit of room here. You know, I want to fight for my championship. And Morgan going, well, if you're going to win the championship, you better earn it tonight, buddy.
Yep. No, and we have a look here again at Van Heerde, De Villiers and Nkube. And Nkube had it, in the couple of corners previously. He got a little bit tail happy with that BMW through the spoon curves. But Van Heerde and De Villiers, they are slugging it out. And De Villiers going around the outside. Don't know if that's the best place to be, because that has allowed Nkube to close up on him again, and Nkube might have a run on him. We'll have to see how this thing pans out. De Villiers is going to keep that tight inside line now, slotting into the toe behind Van Heerde, and Nkube slotting into his toe, looking on the inside, deciding not to do it. Whoa, these three they definitely at it. They're not hanging back.
I mean, you take a look at Dean Cabasa and Darren Miller, who going at each other. Darren trying to keep it all together side by side through the S's. Little bit of contact between the two, but Darren just trying to put the squeeze on a little bit as he makes his way around. And Dean Cabasa, who's keeping so close in the amongst this action, is just trying his best. The headlights are ablaze at the moment for all the drivers. Further up through the field, Bago Krobler, as Tim the cameraman decides he's going to look for some insects on the ground. I think Tim the cameraman is enjoying a couple of insects on the ground.
Maybe he's an insect lover or so. Or got distracted. Ooh, grasshopper.
Yeah, just take a look. De Villiers actually flashing his lights. So what happened here? Here in front, and it does look like Cabasa, that is Nkube, who's got damage on his nose from an earlier incident from the start. It does look like De Villiers just getting all types of shaken out side by side with the Aston Martin. Goes onto the dirt, keeps it all together. He got forced out a little bit wide, and, well, flash of the headlights saying, listen, buddy, a little bit more room would be appreciated, would be great. It does look like Akube's gotten by, and De Villiers now giving chase to the likes of Van Heerden just ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just a notice of I was here, but Stephen, having a look at them going through the S's, it definitely seems like the track is starting to get wetter in certain sections, especially through the S's, as we see De Villiers now trying to make his way past Van Heerden. Van Heerden running wide. Oh, De Villiers loses it and in the wall. Luckily keeps it going, but that will definitely have damaged the front end of that Ferrari, so that might, you know, be a little bit of understeer creeping in. Back to the front with Ryan Ottens and Morgan McCall for round 2.
Morgan keeping a close pressure on at the moment, but I mean, if we go into the helmet cam of Morgan, you can see it's not an easy time to keep behind the Porsche, constantly correcting as he makes his way through, catching the slides. As he gets closer to the back of Ryan Ottens, the spray getting worse and worse on the windscreen. He's having to just try and deal with it as he makes his way around the circuit. I mean, this is little effects that are going to keep impacting the race, and it makes things challenging for yourself to try and get a little bit closer. As just taking a look, Darren Miller actually dropping down and Dean Kabasa getting ahead. So something's happened between Dean Kabasa and Miller. And here we go. This is a bit of a replay. We see Hansi coming into shot. But Darren Miller in the Mercedes, Dean Kabasa chasing him down, goes out a little bit wide, ducks on the inside, contact between the two, drifting round. Another Mercedes going for a drift, but Dean Kabasa just getting a little bit roughhousing with the likes of Miller. But Miller was able to keep the car going. And Myberg saying, thank you very much, I'll take that and keep going. Jumping back up to the front, though, Ryan Ottens dropped into second place. Morgan McCall managing to get through around the likes of 130R. Nicholas Manuel's got Bego Krobler, but yeah, Morgan McCall on the charge, 207.3 as the quickest time, while Ryan Ottens 207.5.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's not gonna look. Ryan Ottens is still in front of Van der Merwe, but you know, ideally Ryan wants to be out in front, maximizing his championship points. But at this stage, even though he is in front of Van der Merwe, so he is still putting a gap in the championship, but not as much as he would have liked. Oh, Manuel likes drifting turn 1. It's not the first time he's done that tonight.
Nicholas Manuel, I think, is getting closer to the flame every single time. That knife's edge is becoming a little bit sharper, and Bego is constantly feeding the pressure onto the back of him, knowing that one mistake can jump him up a position and really come in handy. Nicholas Manuel, who's been putting on a tremendous charge at the moment, and Bego Krobler getting a bit of error wash as he closed down onto the back of that Audi, onto the back of the BMW. But some phenomenal racing from all our drivers, and I've got to say, the rain actually helping some of the drivers to keep control of the cars when it starts sliding, because imagine if the tires just bit, you would be heading into a wall rather quickly. And in the case of De Villiers, we saw earlier, where he was actually able to skate off the wall, not getting too much damage. And Gideon Reiner going on the inside of Mac van der Merwe wasn't able to make it stick. The McLaren really doing everything it can to try and catch up to the Audi. But going back to it, the guys have really stuck in the effort. And I've got to say, it's really, really impressive to see this being the first rain race of the season, but the drivers taking it in their stride and really showing off what the pros can do.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys have done their homework. I think a lot of them have done the long runs. They know the car, when is the tires maybe going to drop off, when is it maybe going to get slippery. They've dialed those tire pressures in, brake ducts. There's a lot of setup work going into ACC, as we see Renner running a little bit wide there in the McLaren, but didn't hurt his drive too much. Owen, was that who in front of him? Was that a lapped car in front of him running wide?
No,
maybe letting him through.
That was Mac van der Merwe, who I think went
was
a
it
little
Van der
bit.
Merwe?
Mac van der Merwe, who got a little bit later onto the brakes and just allowing the likes of Gideon Reiner to sneak on by. saying, thank you very much, I'll take that and be on my merry way.
Yeah, he was pulling a Janneman on himself. I did that a couple of times on Monday night on that last chicane. Just braking a little bit too late, and then the track goes that way, and you still going straight.
Well, you can see Bego Krobler really throwing that Audi around, trying to catch up to the Beamer World Nicholas Manuel, who is just having a fun time, just keeping it all together, keeping up the charge, and really focusing on what he needs to do. So absolutely fantastic work from Nicholas Manuel, being one of his best results at the moment for the championship. And if he can keep it all together for the next 26 minutes, I think he can be rather happy with what he's been able to do this evening. Bego Krobler, though, is not going to take it lying down and said, listen, if you're going to keep up the race, if you're really going to do the best that you can, well, you're about to have a almighty amount of fun trying to chase me down.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the rain, Stephen. It does bring different drivers out to the front that, are more comfortable in rain driving. There's not a lot of them, but certainly at this stage it does seem like Nicholas Manuel very comfortable in the rain, as we see Bego Krobler going for a little bit of a later apex there, trying to get the run on Manuel. As we move now to the rear wing of Gideon Renner, he's looking back at Mac van der Merwe, trying to close that gap down. And this might also give you a little bit of an indication on, the speeds these cars are going through corners like the 130R. Even in the rain, Stephen, I see this is very much still a fourth gear corner. And a lot of them are flirting with those track limits on the outside. As long as they don't gain an advantage from it, it should be fine.
Well, that's it. And you've got to be so careful because the rumble strips can really upset the car and really turn it around a bit more. So guys are going to be so cautious in what they're doing, especially into overtaking maneuvers. As we've seen, you can either really upset the car or upset your competitor's car. You've got to be so careful in your passing, and these drivers are being very respectful at the moment. Yes, pushing the limits. Yes, going and pushing where they are. Sometimes it gets a little bit sketchy. As pointed out with Andre Serradio, Andre Goes Racing, going and saying, pushing a little bit hard where they shouldn't. But yeah, as you said, got to flirt with it a little bit, leaving nothing out to be second guess. I want to go to bed tonight saying I gave it everything I got for round number 7 and walk away happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one thing, looking at this battle between Manuel and Bego, interesting to see, Stephen, how Bego uses different lines to what Manuel is using in the BMW. As we see Bego having a little look though on the inside, almost outbraking himself, but all's well that ends well. But have a look through Spoon Curve now if Bego's going to do it again. He follows a different line than the BMW of Manuel. Do you think that's a case of front engine versus rear engine or mid-engine car?
I think it's a setup difference because he does go a little bit wider and actually this time tucks in quite deep. And well, one thing I've noticed with different driving styles, I'm going to take my teammate, yourself, how the different driving styles between you and I, where I lift and coast, I take a lot more of a deeper inside line versus other drivers. And that's to try and coast the nose in and get back on the power and allow the understeer to pull me out. Where others like having oversteer and they like going out wide and really just chuck the car in, tell the tires to bite and go. And it really does seem to be the play between the BMW and the likes of Bego Krobler. Bego allowing the car to slide its way through. Nicholas Manuel trying to get it in deep, because if he does push that a little bit more, as we see into turn 1, the tail end does like to step out a little bit, and he has to try and trail brake his way through and just keep on the brakes for a little bit longer than the likes of the Audi, just to help keep that nose tucked into the apex.
Yeah, I just want interesting, as Robert says on the YouTube chat, that Morgan is running away with it. But interesting, Mac van der Merwe, he's now down in 7th place, and he's in a battle with Gideon Renner and SES Racers. So The two out in front in the championship, I think Mac is struggling at this stage. He wants to close the gap down to Ryan Ottens. And remember, as I said, he actually wants to finish the race in front of Ryan Ottens. So, as we see him sliding through there, rear end of that Audi, very lively. So, but at this stage, he is struggling a little bit.
Oh, I've got to also just point out, maybe the likes of Ryan Ottens has seen the case of Max a little bit further down. He's got some points to play with. He does take a look at seeing where everyone is, and seeing Kubek going up on the inside of William Wentworth, who decided to go venturing off a little bit, venture forth. But just
maybe
notice,
had a look at the Ferris wheel on the side.
That's it. Gets a little bit excited. But Ryan Ottens, I think, has noticed that he doesn't have to push so hard. He's not going after Morgan McCall. Morgan has got a lot more pace than him at the moment, with that best time of a 207.3. And last lap time 207.8. So Morgan is constantly pushing as hard as possible. But seeing where Mac van der Merwe is, he's thinking, well, I don't have too much of a threat at the moment. And instead of risking it for the biscuit and go damaging my car, I'm going to rather just come off the throttle a little bit, let the guys go, and focus on keeping the rhythm at hand. Bego Krobler and Nicholas Manuel have not gotten that one, along with Mac van der Merwe and Gideon Reyna, as Bego still hunting down the back of that BMW with no fade at the moment, going into the 21 minutes mark of the race. And it's been just an interesting time for the drivers to keep it up. But the likes of Mac van der Merwe, who's constantly pushing, is constantly in the spray, as you see Gideon Reyna getting a little bit upset. But you can see through the spoon, averaging about 130 kilometers an hour in a GT3 car in the rain is no easy feat. And these drivers having to feather the throttle and keep it going. There's a snap oversteer though. And,
Change camera.
There we go. Unfortunately, that snap oversteer of the Audi just getting onto the throttle a little bit too early, putting the power down, low traction control, and the car saying, listen, I'm going to go this way. I want to go play on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a case of the car saying to him, I really don't appreciate the amount of throttle you're requesting from me now, and I'm not going to obey your orders.
Your call is important to us. Please hold the line.
We'll get back to you shortly. Yeah, but Nicholas Manuel's still keeping it out in front of Bego. And I mean, we all know Bego really takes the fight to you. So Nicholas Manuel at this stage, coping with that pressure really well. And it does actually look like he's opened up a little bit of a gap. He's sticking to that inside line, maybe trying to cool tires a little bit. Stephen, it's an interesting line to follow on that backstretch.
I think it's just running offline. I think he is trying to work the hot car a little bit more, and he's getting a tire pressure warning of it. The BMW is very temperature dependent on its tires compared to the Audi, so it has to cool it down just ever so slightly, try and keep it all in check, where the likes of Bego is pushing a lot harder. But Nicholas Manuel, being one of his better results, and actually going to be his best results if he can keep it up, is really taking the fight on and showing what the BMW can do in the rain. The former ZAR driver in the Beamer world, now slugging it out with the likes of the Hybrid Academy Doroma driver, who's been really keep mounting the pressure. I've got to say, these two have just slugged it out all the way through and had a huge amount of fun. But we've had a couple of retirements. Dean Kabasa, Eric Costain, Grant Sebastian, Peter Meyer going and dropping out for the race. Unfortunately, due to varying different circumstances, they just couldn't see the end of the flag, and it's rather unfortunate to see. But this is motorsport, and it can be a cruel mistress. You've either got Lady Luck in the pits on the radio talking sweet music to you, or you got the likes of Murphy with that 13 spanner ready to throw it at any time.
Loosening all the bolts, and the wheels come off the car eventually. Yeah, Stephen, as we always say, it's not the race we wanted, but it's the race we got. You know, unfortunately, sometimes stuff happens to you that you've got no control over, and you're unable to finish a race. It's one of those things. But still, Nicholas Manuel keep coping. Bago going to look on the inside. Manuel had a little bit of a snap on that BMW, and Bago's going to take full advantage, just walking him to the outside of the circuit, trying to kill his drive, but Nicholas Manuel not backing down. They're going to go side by side, right down to the 130R. Bago has the inside line, and Manuel backs out, coming back at him at the chicane maybe, or looking on the inside, on the outside. Bago parks the car right in the middle of the track and just says, no, you're not coming past.
Is he going very deep in the brakes, trying to close down, but Nicholas Manuel, I think the left, the right, the swaying of the car just upset it just enough before the chicane, and coming back at it once again, just left and right, just trying to lean on a bit of pressure. I think at this moment, Nicholas Manuel needs to try sit in the mirrors of Bago Crawler, keep as close as possible and try and figure out how can he force a mistake out of Bago. But Bago just keeping the patience, keeping the pressure on, and allowing the BMW to eventually start slipping out. Essie, though, starting to close down. It was about 2 seconds off, so really making some headway, along with Gideon Rayner getting pulled his way forward. William Wentworth catching up to Nkube. Nkube, you could see that bonnet busy bouncing up and down at the moment. Light aero damage is being reported from his car. And I know at this point is getting some advanced cooling going in.
I just wanted to say that, y'all. You know, it's for in case the engine overheats, it's now got advanced cooling.
I was just seeing Azra going and putting in the chat, the one track I want to race on, and boom, load shedding strikes. So it's rather unfortunate to see that, and you're not the only one.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
There's a couple of drivers unfortunately having that luck. Nicholas Manuel up into 5th though, Essie managing to get by. So what happened to Nicholas Manuel to lose out so much drive to Bago? That was up and towards the hairpin, and on the brakes, just snapped underneath him, and that allowed Essie to get by. Didn't allow the likes of Renner to get by. Renner just wasn't close enough to capitalize on it. But Nicholas Manuel now dropping into 5th place, and Essie saying, well, thank you very much, I'll take that, and I'll keep going. Nicholas Manuel has got some hard work to try and get past the likes of the Honda now into the chicane, hard onto the brakes, and likes of Gideon Rayner, who is keeping a constant pressure. Gideon Rayner actually going and dropping the Aston Martin from last season to go into the McLaren, and has been having varying cases of success and failure with the car. Now going to duke it out with the BMW, drag race into turn 1, and Nicholas Manuel just not giving Rayner any room to go. Rayner does look up on the inside, gets a little bit more drive, and forces Nicholas Manuel out a little bit wide. Now it's into the chicanes. Who's going to play follow the leader? Gideon Rayner says, right, you're going to follow me, buddy. Let's keep it nose to tail.
Yeah, it almost starting to seem like, to me, as if Manuel's starting to struggle with tires. That BMW, maybe he overcooked the rain tires or the wets a little bit, and now, you know, he's paying for that. Again, there, have a look there at the back. We saw again the back end of the BMW sliding, so he's struggling to get the power down. Maybe he took just too much out of the tires, and now starting to struggle for pace, because it does look like Renner is starting to pull a gap over him. So yeah, it does look like he's struggling at this stage.
This is the circuit that does challenge people a little bit, and you know, with the tricky conditions of in the rain, I know we've done this before. We had it. We've sacrificed ourselves many times on the circuit to the racing above by crashing off at different parts of the circuit. But it all comes down to what the tires eventually start doing. As we look at this, is in the rear diffuser of Nicholas Manuel, and you can see he's a little off the throttle for quite some time, just trying to coast the car in. Gideon Rayner, who's keeping his foot absolutely planted. This is what we're seeing from the rear spoiler. A little bit of lights in the background, the clouds in the sky, but Gideon Rayner has got no stress at the moment. He is coming off the throttle and is struggling, so that McLaren not biting as much as I thought it would. And that is allowing the likes of Nicholas Manuel to close down in on him and trying everything he can to just do whatever is possible at this point to hope to get right behind him. So let's see how this is all going to turn out for the drivers. Gideon Rayner just keeping a constant drive. Nicholas Manuel sliding into turn 1. I wonder if he hasn't turned his traction control down just enough to try and get the drive and really focus on getting some grunt out of the car, but sacrificing at the same time, as you can't put your foot down. You have to manage the throttle a little bit more.
Yeah, as we see, Renner is getting a little bit lively there. So the McLaren also starting to slide around a little bit more. It might be, Stephen, but traction control in the wet is it's kind of a dangerous thing, because if you don't have that throttle control on that right foot of yours, it can actually bite you more than what it can assist you to get drive out of the car.
Well, you lose up to 3 seconds if you got your traction control completely maxed out. Don't ask me how I know that, for reasons. But
so you're blaming it on traction control?
Yeah, yes, totally. Yes, I've blamed it on throttle's been lengthened, traction control. I plead the fifth.
Wrong engine maps.
Yeah, just everything you can think of, yeah. But what I'm seeing is they're closing down onto the back of SES. So Gideon Rayner is doing everything he can, and well, having a difficult time doing so. And just taking a look at William Wentworth, he actually landed up with a problem. So let's drop back a little bit of time, about 30 seconds, to see what's going on, because he was keeping a good bit of pace. But I wonder if the BMW's also got that terrible snap, starting to get a little bit of oversteer, runs out wide. There's a snap, keeps it out the wall.
Did not agree with the Pirellis.
That's it, and very, very lucky to keep it out the wall. But there goes De Villiers saying, thank you very much, I'll take that. My Ferrari is getting its final strides in before we switch it out to the new latest Ferrari.
You think he's got his order in already for the new one?
I can tell you there's a few drivers that have got their orders in for the new Ferrari. It does look rather stunning. One person who's not going to be looking at a Ferrari is Morgan McCall, going and blasting away 3.1 seconds ahead of Ryan Ottens in second place. Bago Krobler in third, with Essie chasing him down 3.7 seconds behind. Gideon Rayner, followed by Nicholas Manuel, Mac van der Merwe, Sunjin Pillay, Justin Lotus, Darren Miller, Hunty Myberg, Tinian Kube, Daniel De Villiers, William Wentworth, Richard van Heerde, Mahayath Musa, and a couple of retirements, Dean Cabasa, Grant Sebastian, Peter Meyer, all being involved in the earlier disconnects. But some great racing all round, and I think guys are starting to settle down, and this is where we're starting to see people getting worn out in the final 10 minutes of the race, as it does look like Essie's pace has dropped off. He's now gone from 208 to 209.4, 209.5. So he has lost about a second, where Gideon Rayner's done 209.1s. He's been slowly getting a little bit better as the McLaren starts to wake up a little bit, but it is getting significantly darker out on circuit there, Yanaman.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed over the last couple of minutes. I mean, we are at 6:42 p.m. sim time. It does look like it gets dark fairly quickly at Suzuka. We'll see what the times are tomorrow evening, but we on just less than 9 minutes to go, so not very long in this race to go. But Stephen, it was the same kind of conditions last night when I was on the server. And the thing I want to point out, it was extremely dark, meaning that the headlights in the rain didn't help all that much. So you're driving more on muscle memory and feel than what you are driving on actual visuals. And for cars like these that are running close together, like we see a manual behind Renner, I found myself actually sometimes looking at the tail lights of the car ahead to spot a corner.
Oh, this is the little things you got to be so careful about when you're running so close, because you get that. We talked about tunnel visioning earlier in the season, and running this close to your competitors and it gets darker is getting a little bit more and more tunnel vision as time goes on. And running into some difficult times, and just see Andres Serradio a little bit heartbroken, but showing some love to his teammates. So big shout out to Project Vapor, still keeping on the charge and putting in a bit of love there. Good to see the teammates still going and putting in a good showing. And we'll see Andres Serradio tomorrow evening going and racing his heart out for the Project Vapor team. But yeah, talking about tunnel visioning, this is what the likes of Gideon Reyna is currently seeing. You talked about watching the headlights, well, the tail lights heading into hairpin, just trying to keep it all together, really doing everything he can. The spray kicking up every so often, the rooster tail coming into effect, but you start tunnel visioning onto the back of your competitor. You start trying to figure out where the brake lines are, and you can actually land up with your own, well, braking just in the wrong spot, upsetting the rear and getting yourself thrown around. But while this race is going on, and the likes of Nicholas Manuel starting to catch up, Mac van der Merwe has also closed down the gap and is under a second away from the two.
Yeah, it does look like Nicholas Manuel is starting to come back. Maybe it was a case of he overheated his tires a little bit and the tires have started coming back to him, because he's really closing that gap to Reyna out in front of him, and does look like he's already having a little peek on the inside, just letting Reyna know, I am here, don't forget about me or remember me. And it does look like the McLaren got a lot better drive than the BMW out of the last corner, so maybe Manuel struggled a little bit to get that power down as Reyna sets his sights on Esterhazy again in front of him. So this is kind of a ding-dong battle. Reyna caught in the middle, battling with Manuel the 1 second, and the next second he's onto Esterhazy in front of him.
It's absolutely incredible stuff, and the driver's really putting in a huge amount of work with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left of the race. Getting darker, getting cooler, track conditions, it's 19 degrees out on track, 19 degrees air temperature, and the drivers are going to be worn out of note between some very, very tricky conditions, lots of focusing, and the mental focus that goes into a race like this is huge, because one mistake, as we've seen earlier, can change your entire race. It can upset not only your race but your competitor's race in a heartbeat. So you've got to be so cautious of how you're deciding to take it, where you're looking to move forward. And in the case of Gideon Reyna, he's got himself all warmed up, but in the closing stages of the race has literally got 3 laps to make it or break it to go and catch up to Esterhazy in front, who's just starting to claw his way through. Nicholas Manuel trying to get a little bit more run through the corners, but as you pointed out, the BMW and the McLaren suffering from the same problem. They're actually coasting into the corners, listening to the motors, coasting in, just trying to get the cars a little bit more settled and get back onto the power. So where the likes of Essie's keeping his foot planted, it also tells me he's got the aero all the way up and he's just allowing the aero to pull his way through, where the other two are coasting, trying to battle the cars through, keep the tires warm, and maybe a little bit more worn out than they should have with all the sliding that's been going on.
Now, also a case of waiting for that front end to grip. I mean, if your front tires are starting to feel it, you know, I had that situation on Monday night. If your front tires are starting to feel it, then you have to wait longer to get on the throttle, or as you mentioned, Stephen, lift and coast a little bit, just to ensure that you've got enough front end grip to get through the corner, and that also hurts your pace a little bit.
And with the 130R, I can see a couple of cars like Hunty Myberg is actually climbing onto the brakes just a fraction through 130R. So as he's getting just towards the exit, he's leaning on the brakes a little bit just to try and settle and slow the car down. And Tinya Kube was also doing the same thing, just to try and settle the car all the way through the corner. It makes me wonder of how long these tires are truly lasting in these conditions. Yes, you can run them out for a long time because they're not as beaten up in the rain compared to the dry, but it's still to keep a considerable pace, as we see here, getting a bit of sideways action. That's allowed Nicholas Manuel back van der Merwe to close up on him, but you start seeing the wear and tear a lot more And more that goes into it is you get worn out, and these tires and these cars will bite back rather hard and really cause you to have a difficult situation.
Yeah, we see Mac van der Merwe now there in the background. I think he's fancying his chances to maybe move up 1 or 2 positions before the end of the race, before the 2 minutes 30 seconds run out. Maybe just, I would say, minimize the damage to Ryan Ottens out in front, as Morgan McCall has done him a little bit of a favor as he's leading out in front. But I see Ryan Ottens has closed that gap down to Morgan McCall again quite a bit. 1.8 seconds behind, so I don't know if Morgan maybe made a little bit of a mistake or just taking it easy a little bit, don't know, but at this stage, Morgan's still out in front, Ryan Ottens second, third place we got Bego Grobler, and Mac van der Merwe down in 7th place at this stage.
Well, as we go back to Hansi Myberg and Tini Nkube battling it out, I think that Morgan got some words of wisdom from Robert, for the likes of his dad, Robert McCall, saying, listen, don't go throw it away, keep it all together, you got this, and just try and keep it going till the end, and just the simple words of wisdom.
Whispering sweet nothings in his ear.
I think there is a sweet something of don't go throw it away. You're this far into the race. Don't go throw it away. He has slowed up on the time. Now that's it. He has slowed up the time a little bit, and take a look at Kuba actually landing up off circuit. See if we can go back. Yeah, he's trying to rejoin. So outbraked himself out of the chicane and dropped off the back of the likes. And Nicholas Manuel, who's actually managed to get a jump. So what happened? Nicholas Manuel, Mac van der Merwe, Gideon Rayner, all getting into a bit of a scuffle as we hear Jim saying 1 more lap to go. Tim trying to follow the action all the way through. Mac van der Merwe closing down on the back of Nicholas Manuel. And BMW starting to step out. There's a little bit of a slight contact between the two. Hard on the brakes. Gideon Rayner, the two just sliding themselves out. Mac van der Merwe saying, oh, thank you very much, I'll keep going. Nicholas Manuel.
Yeah, that's moving up to 5th.
Well, that's it. Moving up and capitalizing on the situation. Gideon Rayner taking a bit of damage. Nicholas Manuel going and landing up with a bit of a problem. But making his way through the final chicane and going to be putting his fist in the air with a big smile on his face, taking round number 7 for the RaceFace GT3 Championship. Goes to Morgan McCall. 2nd place is going to be Ryan Ottens. And I will, put it out there. I think this has given Ryan Ottens the championship win for the RaceFace GT3 Sprint Series. Bego Grobler rounding up in 3rd place, followed by Essie Essehace coming across the line. Mac van der Merwe going to be getting into 5th place. Still trying to keep the championship alive a little bit. Nicholas Manuel in 6th place, who managed to get a little bit more of a run. Gideon Rayner coming across the line. Sanjin Pillay coming across, in his stride in the Ferrari in 8th. 9th place is going to be Justin Lotus at the moment, followed by Darren Miller in 10th place, who's making his way through out of the final corner, keeping ahead of the likes of Hansi Myberg, who had a great battle with Tini Nkube. And going a little bit back, Richard van Heerden, Mahaith Musa, who's having a bit of a battle. And we spoke about Mahaith Musa, we spoke about Richard van Heerden. There's Project Vapor duking it out with the RVH Racing Aston Martin as they battle their way through. Mahaith Musa trying to go around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? Richard van Heerden keeping a lockdown on the inside. And just sideways, contact between the two. Mahaith Musa going and tapping the back of Richard van Heerden as they get going. Richard van Heerden getting given. Mahaith Musa saying, listen, that was my bad. Saying sorry. And allowing Richard van Heerden to come across the line in 15th place. 14th was William Wentworth. 13th was Daniel De Villiers. Tini Nkube in 12th. 16th is... Mahaith Musa actually finishing up a little bit further down in likes of 15th position. But what a race, ladies and gentlemen. Round number 7 done and dusted for our amazing RaceFace GT3 Sprint Championship next weekend. Going to be the final round. But, wow. Suzuka really putting on a great bit of effort there.
Yeah, I know. Suzuka always delivers. I mean, it comes to be expected when you race at Suzuka that it's going to be close racing up and down the field. It's just Suzuka is one of those tracks that I mentioned it earlier on the stream when we started. It lends itself to good racing because it is a track that you can pass on. So the guys are going for the gaps, as we saw there right till the checkered flag with Mattia Musa, and great to see him giving the position back before the finish line. But I think, Stephen, this is just a warm-up for tomorrow evening. We'll have to see what the guys get up to tomorrow evening in the longer race, where we got pit stops and strategies and all of those kind of things coming into play.
Yeah, tomorrow being the Medal State Grid Championship, and we're really looking forward to seeing how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you like what you're seeing, give a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon for all the future races to come through.
And we're not talking about our faces.
Well, I'm talking about the race. Our faces, I think, need to it is going to change. But make sure that you give a subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000, the massive milestone. So it would be very, very great. Get your friends, family, anyone that's got a YouTube account, go and make us hit that milestone here at RaceFace. But Janneman, any closing thoughts from your side before we close out tonight?
Awesome racing. Congratulations to McCall. He took the battle to Ryan Ottens tonight and managed to get past him. There was a little bit of contact between the two of them early on in the race. Came back for round two, managed to get past Ryan Ottens, and he actually controlled the race quite well from the front. It's good to see him having a little bit of better luck tonight than what he's had previously with load shedding, all kind of mechanical failures or technical failures, if you want to call it that. Steve, I do tend to agree with you. I think Ryan Ottens pretty much has the championship wrapped up with Mac van der Merwe. He did come home in 5th place, but had a bit of a difficult race tonight. But let's see what the official results are before we go racing at Laguna Seca next week.
It's going to be interesting stuff. And if you guys have noticed the change let us know if you like the change that's happened in terms of the stream, or if you don't like it, let us know. Inboxes are always open, and we appreciate all the info that does come in because it's for you guys. As I said, hit the subscribe button. Big thank you to everyone. And till next time, we'll see you. Same place, well, different place, same time, right here at RaceFace. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.